The champ is back, and boy oh boy, did he ever put on a show. So let's talk about it. Hey Charles, it's everyone. How are you today? I don't know what they've been slipping into the water cooler over at OLM, but the Pokemon Journeys episodes have been punching like gorillas for about a month now with no end to the power plays in sight. And hot off the Pokemon anime writing masterclass that was episode 111, we have just been hit with a big dose of ash worth talking about. So today's plan is to discuss why this episode was exactly what we all needed, to break it down, and to finish in time to join the elderly people outside of my apartment for today's 6:30 AM Tai Chi session. And as always, it's going to be a fun time, so kindly subscribe to join the Brock Nation, drop a little love on that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's jump right in. Firstly, some context around just how badly this episode was needed. The Japanese title of Pokemon Journeys episode 112, Gaisen Alola Champion, roughly translates to Returning in Triumph, the Alola Champion, which immediately establishes that 1. This will be a joyous homecoming to celebrate Ash securing a spot in the Masters 8 tournament, and 2. That Ash is the champion of Alola. And that second point may have you thinking, well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit, Charles. Ash is obviously the Alola champion, but despite the obvious, Pokemon Journeys has actually done very, very little to establish Ash as a champion up until now. In episode 2, we saw Ash's Alola League trophy in his room alongside his other awards, but the first time it was actually verbalized that Ash is the champion of Alola was in episode 76 on a trip to Alola, in which a couple young boys recognize and fawn over him. That is right. Episode 76. And in the midst of that void, fans hot off of Ash's big victory in Sun and Moon would regularly question the reasoning behind this bizarre omission. Sure, Ash has become much more humble about his achievements over the years, and there is the argument that the newly formed Alola League is not of the same cut as the other leagues, but you'd still think he would get some recognition on the streets for his achievement. Orange League winner, Battle Frontier victor, champion of Alola. None of these accomplishments were even mentioned when the Masters 8 roster was announced at the end of Pokemon Journeys episode 109, and this was very strange indeed. So as you can see, returning in triumph, the Alola champion was desperately needed to 1. Give longtime viewers the carrot that had been held out of reach for 111 episodes, and 2. Establish Ash as a champion to both brand new viewers, as well as old viewers returning from a long hiatus who may not be clued into Ash's recent credentials. And 112 delivered in spades, so let's break it down. Episode 112 is a direct continuation of episode 111, wherein Lily's family finally reunited with their lost father and husband, Moan. And when the fam plus the trio arrive in Alola by boat, a celebration is thrown for Moan. And the scene is just packed with satisfying details, from baby Kukui to Mallow cooking up the tasties to Hobbs breaking down in tears at the sight of his long-lost master, to the gang's sheer delight at Lily's return. This segment also added to one of Journey's unique story threads when Chloe approaches Lana to ask about her Eevee, explaining that she and her own Eevee have now encountered all 8 known evolutions, but are still unsure of the correct evolutionary route to take. Lana points out that there is another option, and that option is to not evolve at all. It's always fun seeing new and old cast members interact, and this was a nice way to handle Eevee option number 9 instead of dedicating a whole episode to the topic. Personally, I am still hoping that Chloe's Eevee will ultimately evolve into a brand new evolution to promote the upcoming Scarlet and Violet video games, but how about you? Anyways, at long last, over 2.5 years deep into Pokemon Journeys, Ash finally gets the recognition he deserves. When the gang starts gushing about his World Coronation Series run, which they have all been watching on TV, and Sophocles points out that he wouldn't expect anything less from the very first Alola League champion. Ash blushes humbly at the praise, indicating how different the comparatively mature Ash of today is from the inexperienced, rash, arrogant Ash of the past. And afterwards, the trio head to Professor Kukui's house, which feels every bit as much like Ash's home as his mother's house back in Pallet Town does, and it had me pining for those easygoing Sun and Moon days. The gents even busted out those awkward masks for old time's sake. And it's here that Professor Kukui announces that a 4-way battle royale will be held the following day, featuring himself and 3 other competitors. What I love about this scene is how Ash asks Professor Kukui to battle him in his masked royale getup, but Kukui removes his mask and tells Ash that he will be battling him as himself, because as the champion of Alola, Ash will be the star of the event. Professor Kukui had clearly set up this whole thing, and it seemed like he did it all for Ash as the proper father figure to Ash that he is, giving his son the proper homecoming he deserved, and presenting him an opportunity to get truly fired up for the tough tournament ahead. What a guy. The next day at the Battle Royale Dome, the full roster of contenders are revealed. Alola League champion Ash, Alola League founder Professor Kukui, Akala Island's budding island king Kiawe, and Alola League runner-up Gladion. The roster was exactly what you would expect, but it was a surprise to see that Lily the Nihilego, who just joined Lily's family in the previous episode, would be representing Gladion instead of one of his regulars. And the episode sweetened the fish dish through a lovely flashback of Gladion's training session in the forest the day prior, wherein his squad were going hard and Lilyfish seemed eager to join in. Maybe it was just the gorgeous piano score, but this scene truly melted my heart. As while Gladion would have been better off running with one of his best, he saw Lily wanting to do her bit, and he decided to give her a shot on the big stage. The battle itself was fast and fiery with moves flying every which way, and this battle really stuck out to me as a lot of the battles in Pokemon Journeys have felt very sluggish from the mid-game onward on account of the by nature very sluggish Dynamax mechanic. But by comparison, the Battle Royale clipped along at a furious pace, and the battle comes down to Ash versus Kukui as it should. Kukui then comments, "This takes you back, doesn't it, Ash?" And suddenly, Ash is overcome by a torrent of flashbacks to his time in Alola, being surrounded by friends who cheered him on, winning the Alola League, defeating Professor Kukui and Tapu Koko in an incredible final exhibition match. And what snaps him out of this daze is a chant swelling up in the crowd. Champion, 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 our champion. Spectators then began calling out words of encouragement. "Don't forget, you are representing all of Alola. You have to win. Go for it. Everyone has your back. Bring it home. Win the Masters 8." etc. Ash is stunned, like the reality of what he truly did achieve in Alola that hot summer day however long ago is just finally beginning to sink in. And I have to say that this scene really gave me the shivers. And I don't know if it is just because I have been watching the Pokemon anime for so long, but it simply felt like there was so much weight behind this moment. As if heartfelt recognition of the past 25 years of ups and downs and struggles and victories had at long last all been condensed into this scene. The payoff was enormous, with Ash finally realizing what it means to be a champion, his home crowd pouring their hearts out for him, and everyone calling out for their champion to bring home the big one to Alola. And Ash's reaction to it all was something special in itself. He looks down and he grimaces, realizing that the hopes and dreams of his fans, of his home, are resting on his shoulders. And then he smiles, because he is here doing what he loves, and now, finally, he is doing it for more than just his own ambitions. It all felt so genuine. And of course, Ash then throws his hat to Pikachu for the grand, climactic Z-move finale that we all knew was coming. And while the scene cuts to white before a victor is shown, I think we all know who pulled off the W. In the final scene, Ash is at the beach, thoughtfully overlooking the sunset, when Professor Kukui comes down to the shore and asks him what he is thinking about. Ash replies that he is thinking about how glad he is to have come back to Alola. And after Tapu Koko appears to Ash once more, the narrator wraps up the episode with some truly stirring words. His Alolan family, the people and Pokemon of Alola, its nature, its battles, and the guardian deity Tapu Koko are all pushing Ash forward as he heads into the Masters Tournament. What a wholesome, goosebump-inducing conclusion to a brilliant episode. And just like that, the champion came home, he discovered what it means to be a champion, and now he is ready to take on his biggest challenge yet.